a height of about 4 to 4.5 meters, which is really, really large. Let me see if I can find something quickly just on the height of an elephant. Yeah, so exactly, I'm right. It's so nice when I do get the weights and the sizes correct. But about 4 meters at shoulder height, 4.5 meters for big elephant, and 5 tons. Maybe big males, really big males, can maybe get up to 6 tons. And that is massive, so you can imagine. And it's, it's hard to picture, but listen to it breaking those branches. It's hard to picture, but when you do get up close and personal with these animals, you see how big the large males are, especially when they're standing close to the females. They tower over them. What a lovely sighting with this elephant. It's so great to spend time with them. We're going to continue searching for some other animals, and while we do that, let's see what the lions are up to.
Now Mr. Mfumo has decided to pop his head up and give us a nice view of his wound. Now I think that it's healing quite nicely. Some of you may agree, but if you remember at one point it almost looked like you could fit your entire hand inside his face because he had that very, very deep hole. And it's slowly starting to heal up. You can see that the flesh is lovely and pink, so it's healthy flesh. And of course there isn't a hole anymore. Yes, the skin has not attached itself yet, but that's what happens with a big gash. The wound needs to first heal, and then it is definitely going to take a couple of months for that skin to grow over and close that wound. And I think he'll have a really bad scar there for the rest of his life. Isn't that lovely though? Thank you, Mr. Mfumo, for putting your head up for us. Now, the reason why they are all scattered around like this, like just a moment ago, or actually maybe a few minutes ago, it happened so quickly in the blink of an eye. Some slender mongoose ran in the distance, and all the lions jumped up and tried to chase on, and the youngest lioness almost caught one of the mongooses too, which was very impressive, but luckily they got away. I think that those mongoose got the fright of their life. You can see one of the nkahumas has jumped up into the tree again. One of the younger ones, not as confident, and I think it's regretting its decision. Shouldn't have gone that far. Yeah, it's hard to jump off down onto the ground, though not high enough that it would hurt itself. It's not very steep, but I think from all the way up there and being so small, probably thinking, oh, how am I going to turn around? And that's what's so funny about the lion cubs, is that they don't think of their end plan. They just sort of live in the now, and what am I going to do right now? And then they get themselves stuck in all these situations, and they haven't thought of, oh, what happens next? But they will learn this as they get older. What are you going to do? Struggling a little bit. Yes, perhaps just sit down. It'll probably be a good bet. Going to try and have a little nap, just like the leopards do. Now we're looking at this cub, and this is one of the mangy cubs. And I know Deborah from South Carolina was wondering if there are any others that have mange. There's a couple. We need to have a proper look. There's one that's quite bad. The other cubs now, unfortunately, are hiding behind all the bushes. The two oldest cubs don't seem to show any signs of mange at all. And I thought I saw one more that looked a little bit mangy, but not really bad at all. Not bad. I think it's really just this one that's in the tree that is suffering from it the most, but we'll have another look when they come out into the open again. Remember, it's Tinyo, the male Birmingham, that has also got that skin condition. I think he is the source of where it has come from. Having a look up. No, I wouldn't go any higher. So it's desperately trying to turn around without falling off. Here we go, slowly but surely managing. And there's lots of little branches that keep poking. It doesn't know if to go under, to go around. Now that you've got yourself unstuck, where are you heading to next? You hear the hardy-dars all calling in the distance. And finally the sun is starting to come out. It seems to be poking through the clouds now, which is very nice. The weather is quite bizarre at the moment. It almost looks like storms are rolling in, dark black clouds sitting very low, and then they come over and absolutely nothing, not even a spit. And now the sun seems to be burning them all away, which is not what we wanted. We wanted to have one more downpour of rain. Oh wow, look how this lioness now. I'll go back to her. There's another lioness that's got up and has started eating. She's doing very well at separating the skin from all the flesh. She's finally getting herself some good chunks of meat. Can you hear her, how she's almost gnawing on that bone? And that's not to try and get the bone, of course. She's trying to get the flesh in between the ribs. The hardy-dars seem to be taking over out there. They seem to be the only birds I can hear at the moment. And we keep getting these wonderful wafts of lion dung that are all around, which are quite interesting smells. It was quite funny, as those two little cubs that we saw a moment ago feeding on the carcass, they got bored and full and they moved off and went and laid down, and it was almost exactly as they moved away or got out of sight, the lioness that was laying just in front of the carcass got up and said, "Right, it's my turn now," and went and started feeding on it, as we're seeing now. So she wasn't getting involved in any of the antics and growling, and I thought it was a very clever strategy just to wait until everybody had eaten, and of course there's going to be some left, and now she can eat in peace. So you can almost see the stomach lining there, that sort of thin piece of membrane, but they've already pulled out all the intestines, the heart, the liver, the lungs. They've pulled all of those out already. And that's just the skin. Now I'm just watching in the distance. It seems like one lioness. I don't think you'll be able to see her. I'll just tell you what's going on. It's one lioness has got up and moved a little bit further away, and I did hear a very soft contact call a moment ago, and she also led some of the cubs away with her. Now the male's on his way too. No, you're just going to test somebody's urine possibly. Let's see what he does. That's a good bum photo. Let's see if he's doing the phlegm and grimace. Okay, he's waving his head around. Possibly one of the lionesses urinated there. and he's now testing her urine to see if she's coming into estrus or not. And I know there's quite a few new viewers today, so I'm going to just very quickly tell you about the vomeral nasal organ, or it's also known as the Jacobson organ, which is one of the very important sense organs for lions, and actually for a variety of different animals. And what that does is that they test the urine that's either been deposited on the ground, or they test it directly as the female is urinating. And basically there's this organ that sits between the top front teeth and of course the nose. And then they pass that urine into their mouths and into that sense organ, and they can then tell if a female is in estrus or not. And of course we get that beautiful sort of smile that you saw him do, which is called the Flehmen grimace. He's going to lay back down again. He's sitting very closely with amber eyes. Now, we've been speaking a lot about these male lions and the darkening of their manes, and Dayton wants to know, does the mane always start to darken at the bottom, or does it sort of depend on the individual lion? Now, Dayton, you've definitely got the right thought there, but it seems to always start around the chest, and the reason for that is because that's often where the mane first starts to develop. It starts to grow around the side of their face, and then of course on their chest, and then it grows around the rest of the body. So with that being, I suppose you could say, more mature hair, it is the first to see the darkening. You can see there's a few sprigs of dark hair coming through on top of the mane now towards the middle of his head. He's almost got like a dark patch over there. But eventually that should all go black, hopefully. Well, we're hoping that it does. It's always nice to see dark-maned lions. But I'm just happy to see lions in general. Little cub. Looks like it's using the luxury facilities, that vulnerable position. Looks like it went away to try and get some privacy, but here we are. Oh, wow. Look at Miss Lioness over here. She's tearing away at this buffalo now. Now you can see as she sticks her head in the kill, she closes her eyes, and I know that Manu spotted that and wants to know why they do that. Now it's probably just because of all the pokey bits that are around. Their eyes are obviously quite sensitive, and they rely on them heavily. So I think when they go into the kills, to avoid being pricked by a bone that's perhaps broken, or even if the animal is still alive and they're in the process of killing it, I don't know if you've seen, they often will close their eyes too, just in case they do get a hoof to the face or something like that. There is some sort of protection. So it's almost the same way as when giraffe feed as well. When they stick their heads into those thorn trees, they keep them closed, but of course they've got those lovely thick eyelashes as well, which add valuable protection. Giving it a little shake. She's worked very hard on this carcass. Oh no, here come the terrorists again. Luckily this lioness had a few moments of peace though. But unfortunately she's going to have to endure the little lion cubs who have been harassing everybody that comes near the carcass. Now HQ, you're wondering if the carcasses ever smell bad to the lions. I'm sure if they come across a carcass, which we came across the other day, which was riddled with maggots and it smelt revolting to myself and Eggsy, I'm sure they probably turn their nose up a little bit. But it doesn't always matter. Like I said, if that was any other pride of lion and not the pride that's as successful as the Nkuhumas, they would have carried on eating away at it. I don't think they would have left it at all. So I think to some degree, remember their scent is very, very sensitive, but I also don't think that they can tell the difference, sort of like how we are always like, oh, this smells really appetizing, and oh, that's not very nice. And I think it probably varies from lion to lion. Like with humans, some of us can take smells better than others. Like I know a few people who can't even put the refuse out, the rubbish, because of the smell that you can sometimes get from a bin. So I think it depends on your stomach. So I think it varies slightly, but no, they don't particularly mind the smell of rotting meat. Lions are largely scavengers. I just don't understand how these little cubs keep fitting more and more into their stomachs. They're going to explode. I think we're going to have to leave these Nkuhumas. I'm sure there's someone else that needs to come in and have a look, and unfortunately there's not a lot of space for more than 2 vehicles. So I think we've had a great time and spent a good amount or fair amount of time with them this morning. But let's go back across to Byron.
Hello everyone again. We have still had no luck. We've been searching all over. We've literally driven all over Djuma this morning and just no sign of any leopard. But hang on, I've just got to Sydney's Dam. Have a look here. We've got a herd of buffalo coming down to drink, or that are drinking. That's great. There we go. You can probably see them from here clearly. There, they all are down there. Oh, the dam's looking nice and full. Oh, that's great. Hang on. Brian, if we can move just over there, there's a dead tree further left if you keep coming, and have a look there, everyone. In that tree, there's a gymnogene. Can you see that a little bit low down there? An African Harrier hawk, and it's trying to raid the nest of the Starlings. Watch that. Oh, fantastic. Look how that bird is trying to get into the nest or into that tree. And the Starlings are mobbing it. The red-billed buffalo weavers are around there too. So this used to be known as a gymnogene, and its new name is the African Harrier hawk. I'd like to see if there's something that this bird does, and keep watching it. Its face is yellow at the moment, but when they do get mobbed, often that face turns red very quickly. Then you can actually see it turning slightly pinkish, and it can go bright red. Look at that. Can you see that, everyone? It changes its color immediately. There, look at that. And I think what happens is it increases the blood flow to the face, and it gets that reddish color. And we'll see if it does flower off, if it calms down, if it goes back to yellow. And that's usually when it gets mobbed. So as I was saying, this used to be known as the gymnogene. It's now the African hawk eagle. Sorry, African Harrier hawk. The African Harrier hawk. And this bird is an expert at raiding nests. Can you see those long legs? And what they're able to actually bend their knees incredibly well, so that they're able to almost move upside down and stick their long necks and heads into the nest to raid the nests for chicks or potential eggs that might be in there. But mainly the chicks that are in the nest. That's beautiful. But you see, it's still got that bright pink coloration to the face. And we'll see if it does change back. There, look at those birds, the starlings mobbing it, and the drongo trying to chase it away, because it is a bird of prey. Even the blacksmith lapwing came in there for a second. There they go. Look at that. Wow, Brian, amazing camera work. Thank you. This is incredible. Look at that. Just hiding in there now. But it's amazing to see how the other birds mob it to try and get it away. There's a bird of prey, and they know that this bird especially is probably interested in the nests and the chicks. So you see all those birds around there, they're all calling and they're all mobbing this eagle. Or this bird of prey rather, not quite an eagle, the Harrier hawk. Trying to see if that face has changed color again. There it goes. There it goes. But you see that color has changed slightly. It's a bit lighter, but it's still being mobbed. There it goes. Those birds are not leaving it alone at all. Yeah, the fork-tailed jongos don't give up either. This is fantastic. Just heard the starlings calling, and as I glanced over, I saw the Harrier hawk trying to raid the nest. Wow, fantastic. Look at that. Oh, wow. It's much closer now. They are not happy. There it goes. Gee, Brian still managed to stick with it. Incredible. But look how they're mobbing it. They're not giving up. Keep hitting it. You see, it's just trying to get into some thicker trees now, trying to hide away from the birds. But wasn't that amazing? And you could see a slight color change in that face. And have a look. I'm just going to show you in the book quickly, and the color that they've got for it, for the African Harrier hawk. And look right up here. There we go. You can see, we could see the black markings and the white banding. And look at that yellow face. Do you see that? So usually yellow, and then when they are mobbed or feeling threatened, it turns bright red, or that pinkish red coloration. Almost immediately. It's incredible how they're able to change the color. It's obviously got to do with some blood capillaries that they then cause the blood flow to increase to the face. That causes that red coloration. Very, very interesting. That was lovely. And there's buffalo, and have a look at the zebra out here too, just to the right of the buffalo. So a lot coming down to drink. And when all of this is birds chasing it off. A nice group of zebra. I know Taylor was chatting to you about collective nouns for animals, and I wonder if she mentioned the zebra. I'm sure she did. A dazzle of zebra. That's what a group of zebra are known as, is a dazzle. I think it's quite fitting. They do appear to be quite dazzling when they're running together in a group. One or two young zebra foals there. The one is much younger. Still a few buffalo drinking. So Anna Maria has asked us a question about their Djuma gene, and Anna Marie would like to know, why did they change the name to the African Harrier hawk? Anna Marie, I have absolutely no idea. So actually, a number of bird names changed many years ago. I think in the late 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know, apparently the reasoning is that they tried to create an international standard for the naming of birds. So a lot of the some of the birds, like the plovers, which we often get around here, the blacksmith plover, which we saw flying after that gymnogene earlier as it flew over the waterhole, and that's now called the blacksmith lapwing. So there have been a number of bird name changes, and apparently it was because they wanted to create this standard, an international standard. But I do find it quite strange. A lot of the bird names aren't similar to that, to birds which look similar overseas. So I don't know where it came from. I always joke and say, I wonder if it's because the bird book sales perhaps started to dip a little bit. maybe they needed to sell more bird books, so they changed the name so people had to buy them. But I'm just joking, I don't know. But the official reasoning is because they wanted to create an international standard. So a lilac-breasted roller flying past, but it's not calling, so I don't think it's going to do a display for us. I don't think it will. Well, this was a lovely little stop. Great surprise. Buffalo, zebra. And that gymnogene. Just going to try to turn around here a little bit, head up the road and see what else we can find. See, things are starting to happen for us. James has asked a very interesting question. James would like to know, would an African Harrier hawk be able to raid a den of a genet? Genets do sometimes leave their young in holes of trees and that. And would a young genet be too big for an African Harrier hawk? Would they be able to raid a nest or a little den almost for these genets? It's a good question, James, and I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. To be honest, I've never heard of an African Harrier hawk raiding the nest of a genet and attacking young genet. I wonder. See, also the thing that why I would think it's unlikely, and now these are just theories and thinking about animal behavior and why it possibly couldn't happen, James, because African Harrier hawks are all diurnal. So they're active during the day. They'll raid nests during the day and then obviously sleep, find a perch and sleep at night. Genets are active at night. So generally, mostly active at night, and they are nocturnal. So the thing is, if there is a den or a little nest of that a genet has, the adult would most likely be in there, and during the day. And if an African Harrier hawk comes to the nest or to the entrance, then that genet, that adult, will defend the nest and look after the young, defend the young. So probably chase off the African Harrier hawk. So it's unlikely, but I'm not 100% sure. I've just never heard of it before, and that would be my theory, is that it's probably unlikely because of the different behavior and the times of day that they are active. A good question, James. It's interesting. It's nice to get questions like that, make you think a little bit about nature and about how the animals behave and what animals would potentially eat. And it's not to say they won't go for something that large. It probably could. I've seen a little lilac-breasted roller catch a mouse during the day, and the mouse was about this big, and I mean the lilac-breasted roller is only this large, and it's unusual for them to catch mice, of all things, little rodents. And it caught it, killed it, tried to feed on it, and got it halfway down the beak. And incredibly, it was too big. It couldn't swallow it and spat it out and eventually flew off. Just couldn't eat the mouse. But it still killed it. So it's interesting. Animals will still try, if it's potential food, they'll try and eat it no matter what. So it sounds like Taylor's finally left the lions. They had so much to eat this morning. She's at Buffelshoek Dam. Let's see what she's found over there.
We are indeed just bypassing Buffelshoek Dam. There is nothing around at the moment, and my next plan is to head towards those carcasses of the buffalo that we've been seeing over the last few days, sort of on Drakensberg Road, and then of course the other one on Mamba. And if you remember last night, I said that I wanted to come back and have a look and see if perhaps the hyenas had got to them yet with all the vulture activity we experienced yesterday. So that's what I think we're going to stick with this morning and just see how it is. We're just bumbling along until we get there, and I'm sure we'll bump into all sorts of very exciting things along the way, as we normally do. Wondering about Shadow and where she is. I haven't seen her, and Herbert has been out this morning trying to help her search, and he checked some of her favorite spots sort of around Triple M and the southwestern corner, all along there, and he says he hasn't seen any tracks just yet, and I haven't heard any updates on her yet. So Tingana last night was just in Torchwood, but they can't find him this morning. That's why I'm coming a little bit further east, because it sounded like he wasn't too far from Cheetah cut line, but no sign just yet. But we will keep an eye out. You know, sometimes I'm convinced that these animals jump over the road so that we can't find them and follow them, and it's alright. Luckily for us, we've had the Nkahumas who have been keeping us entertained and also keeping that cat count going. Just have a look here. No, just lots of buffalo tracks. Now, Gamer, you're wondering when was the last time we spotted a cheetah? We're actually very lucky. A couple of afternoons ago, we went all the way across to Cheetah Plains, and we came across two brothers, which was very exciting. And it seems like they'd come from Mala and then come north. Now, maybe that's something we can do this afternoon, is perhaps we'll go across to Cheetah Plains. I haven't been there for a few days, and just see what's happening on that side. We need to go when it's not too windy, though, otherwise Cheetah Plains is unfortunately not very pleasant, as with it being quite open, especially when you get to the far eastern corner, it can be quite treacherous. And when there's lots of wind, of course we know unfortunately there don't seem to be too many animals around with it. But it's okay. But let's see, if the sun comes out and perhaps these clouds lift, I think it would be quite a nice day to go across and have a look and explore. Maybe we get lucky and we pick up on a leopard that side, or we see one of the others on like I said, on our way there. My goodness, the elephants have done all sorts of crazy things over the last few days, blocking all the roads. Pigsy, we've got to squeeze through here. It's a very tight squeeze with all the branches. Luckily, not a tree with thorns on. There's nothing worse than getting hooked by a buffalo thorn or even a knob thorn. Acacias aren't so bad because those thorns are quite sharp and sort of almost look more like a spine because they're so long. They're not a spine, they're a thorn though. And with the buffalo thorns, we'll try and find one, or a knob thorn. They've got two different types of thorns, one that hooks you and then one that pokes you. And we'll try and see if we can find some. I just want to check here that there's nothing around. Nope, doesn't seem like anything just yet. We're actually making our way straight to Cheetah Cut Line, and we're going to go straight down it. Or we might go straight down Drakensberg. I haven't quite decided just yet. But it's Seems to be getting cooler now. That sun poked its head out for a little bit, and now it's gone. The clouds are thick and covering the sky. I'm hoping that we get rain. I hope it pours with rain. Right, we have now arrived at Cheetah cut line. Just check very carefully around here to see if Tingana perhaps didn't cross into our traverse. It seems as though I was the first person to drive the road we were just on, so it didn't seem any tracks, so it doesn't look like there's anything here at this junction. Okay, that's alright though. We'll persevere and keep looking. There's nothing around here at the moment. You're wondering what the most endangered animal is in this area besides the African wild dogs. I'm going to have to go with the southern ground hornbills, which we saw earlier with Byron, and we've been seeing, actually quite lucky to be seeing a family of them hanging around, which is quite nice. Unfortunately, there's not very many left of them. There's probably only a couple of hundred left in this greater Kruger area, and not more, I wouldn't say not more than about 1,000 pairs left in Africa. So unfortunately it's not massive numbers, but there are all sorts of different types of efforts that they're trying to do to try and help breed and help save the population. Now, I'm completely blown away at how things change out here in the bush. If you remember 3 mornings ago, this is where all the action was happening from. This area was littered with buffalo, it was littered with lions, there were zebras, there were wildebeest, there were vultures, there was every species of animal hanging around here, and now this morning there is nothing. Haven't even seen one impala, but I'm going to carry on looking for those carcasses. Let's go back to Byron, who's got a real live buffalo.
And have a look at this. We found some more buffalo, but what's interesting is watch them drinking out of this little pool of water, and that's one of the benefits of the rain that we had yesterday or the night before last. These little mud pans or pools have filled up with water, and animals are now able to get drink wherever they are. If you have a look, these buffaloes still aren't really in great condition. That one just decided to walk straight through it. They're still looking a bit thin, and that's because there's not a lot of food around, but at least there is water, and hopefully the food will start growing again. A lot more grass shooting out. And these buffalo aren't too far from Mvubu Road, which is where those lions have got the kill from last night. So I wonder if they didn't perhaps hunt this group and got one of these. And I commented on them being a little bit thin and not in great condition, and that's why it's making it very easy for these lions to hunt the buffalo, because they're not as powerful and not as fast as they probably would be in the middle of summer when there's a lot of food around. So they are a bit weaker, a bit easier for some of the predators to hunt them, especially the lions. So Viola has just sent us a question, and Viola would like to know, are there African tribes which hunt in this area? And Viola, not in this area that we are. This area is a protected game reserve, so we are part of the greater Kruger National Park, so there are no tribes within this area, and there's no hunting allowed. It's illegal to hunt in the national parks. So unlike areas in East Africa, I know the Maasai and that, one of the tribes up there, and they are able to hunt. I think they are permitted to hunt within or around the game reserves, because they have been there for many years, and that's how those tribes survive. But out here there weren't many tribes to begin with, and And over the years, with the protection of land and people moving out into other areas, there are no tribes, traditional tribes within the game reserves anymore. There are still communities and tribes outside of the game reserves, but those people generally still farm and look after livestock, and that's their livelihood, and that's what they survive on. Some impala dotted around through the thicket off to our left. We're driving along a road now. It's a nice open section, and just to our left there's a nice dense thick area or a drainage line. You can see a lot more vegetation over there because there's probably a lot more water down there. These drainage lines, that's where all the water moves down from the crest area from the rain. It seeps down and gathers down, and the water in these drainage lines where the water table is probably a lot higher. So a lot of vegetation growing around here. We're going to continue our search for any potential leopards around, or any leopard, sign of leopard at least. While I do that, let's get another update from Taylor.
Now I want you to turn your volume up because these birds are going crazy about something. No, of course they're not making one noise. So the starlings are panicking quite a bit, the Cape Glossy starlings. You can see them sort of diving into that wooded area, and there were lots of other birds around, all alarming as well, from the woodpeckers, which I thought was quite unusual, to a drongo and a few other smaller bills. The waxbills were around as well, all shouting. Now I'm not sure what's going on and why they're making such a noise, but there were quite a few of the starlings. There seems to be the two now, and they keep jumping in there and then flying away. Now it could be as if it's something like a snake, maybe there's a nest in there, but I can't see anything just yet. But you can hear they are extremely unhappy about something in there. We're just having a look. You see how they keep flying down? But however, I think it is further. Here we go. If someone else has joined the party as well. I can't really see who you are just yet. But they all seem to be getting quite angry and acting quite aggressively to whatever is inside there. It has calmed down quite a bit now. They were making a real racket a few moments ago. And it seems as though quite a few of the starlings have also moved off. Like I said, there was a whole group of them all going absolutely ballistic. Now they've settled down. Okay, I'm not sure what it is, unfortunately, but I hope that it isn't a snake eating their eggs. Well, it would be nice for the snakes, seeing as though they've been hiding away for quite some time. It could be something completely different, of course. But for now, it is a mystery as to what has got the starlings' feathers all ruffled. But now, we just need to head off, and we're going to go and check that buffalo carcass, which we checked last night, the one that was still intact. So we're going to go through here. You're right there, Eggsy. So we're going under some trees. Eggsy just needs to drop the antenna very quickly. There we go. And we're through. We're right there. Okay, let's find this carcass. It's just up ahead. It's not too far away. I still can't see any vultures. I just need to remember exactly where it is. Go through these trees, this little gap here. I can see it from here. Now we're going to go around this way. We're not too far away now. We're actually very close. It's just that we can't, unfortunately, go as the crow flies with all the branches and sticks and things around. I'm sure there's going to be lots more maggots crawling around in this buffalo. Here we go. Almost there. luckily it's not too thick in here. It's starting to smell delicious. I'm going to hide my nose a little bit. I'm not going to park anywhere near it like I did yesterday because it is very smelly. Let's have a look at the buffalo. There you go, you can see it. You just need to readjust very quickly. Well, you can see it, and you can see how it's bloated up almost double the size to what it was yesterday. Even its neck, the entire body is starting to expand now. I wouldn't want to be here when it bursts. And like I said, I was describing yesterday, the smells that are going to come out of this buffalo will be horrifying and probably make me possibly get sick. But nothing has touched it. Not a vulture, not a hyena. It is still completely intact. Maybe nothing knows that it's here just yet, because we would have seen those vultures come in, especially the white-backed vultures. They've got a strong enough build to open up this buffalo. They could easily tear through that hide. Can we see any more maggots, or have they also perhaps moved on? Oh, no, they haven't. They're still here. Lots and lots of maggots. They seem to be the only ones that are indeed eating this buffalo. Well, here's to the fly population increasing over the next few weeks. Going to have to get that elephant dung out and start burning it right away. And I know that this is can be quite gruesome. But this is just one of those things, I'm afraid. And I really am surprised that nothing has come through yet. Perhaps there's just such an abundance of food around at the moment due to the drought, the animals taking strain, that perhaps they are being able to be a bit picky, which is something that we don't normally see with the wildlife. They take whatever they can get. But I think we'll continue following up on this buffalo and just trying to see what's going to happen next. If anybody is going to come and eat it, if it's going to burst open. Perhaps then if it does burst, if the stomach is somewhere along the lines of the air starts escaping, I think then possibly we are going to then maybe get some activity, like I said, that smell. And we know that sense of smell is what a lot of the animals rely on most. Perhaps then it'll entice the hyenas. I always find the stinkier a carcass, the more the hyenas seem to enjoy it. Okay, but we're going to move on now to the next buffalo carcass. We're going to head around to Mamba Road. But let's go to Byron, who has got some bird for you.
I do have some birds, and these are very interesting birds. African cuckoos, everyone. Oh, fantastic. 2 African cuckoo. Wow, we've had a great morning with birding. And this might be a first for a lot of you. You don't often see these African cuckoos. And there they disappear. Oh, wonderful. African cuckoo, that's great. That is really nice. You don't see them often. You know, a lot of these cuckoos are most of these cuckoos, all of them are migrants. So it's great to have them all back for the summer. And the African cuckoo, you don't hear them that often, but they've got a call similar to a hoopoo. It's just, if I'm not mistaken, it's extended slightly. And I mean, my bird calls aren't great at the best of times, but it's I think, something like that. I'm not very good at an African cuckoo call. So it's a little extended, but you do hear them occasionally. But it's great to see them, because these cuckoos are very secretive birds. And the other species of cuckoos around here, the red-chested cuckoo, the Diedrich's cuckoo, Klaas's cuckoo, Levalen's cuckoo, Jacobin cuckoo. So all those cuckoos are found around here. It's great to see the African cuckoo. That is really, really nice. lot of impala and that around in these areas. We've seen more zebra also dotted through the thickets. There's a lot of animal activity around here, which is great. We've been very fortunate. Well, since I've got here, we've seen so much. And it's wonderful to see general game. We call them general game. A lot of the antelope species, the zebra, these animals that are predominantly herbivores and grazers or mixed feeders. They feed on leaves or on the grass, the browsers like the kudu. It's wonderful to see so many different species of animals, because that also then will bring predators. And as we've seen with the lions have been very successful on Djuma for the last 49 days. I think today is 49 days of seeing lions for Safari Live, which has been fantastic. That's really lucky. I know a lot of lodges that go through days where they don't see lions, so to have a streak like that is incredible. Still very cool this morning, and that's good. That could possibly mean that some of the predators would still move around, like leopard. Leopards actually do move around a lot during the day, more so than we actually know. And I've been fortunate enough, I've worked in areas and followed and tracked leopard for many, many years and seen their behavior, and they move around during the day, even though a lot of people thought they're mainly nocturnal, but they do move during the day, and they will hunt during the day too, especially on mornings like this when it's nice and cool. If it does get hot, then they also tend to move around into thickets or drainage lines and look for shelter from the heat and from the sun, and then they'll spend the day there. And you can see the cloud cover Brian is on at the moment, so it is still very cool. We've still got our jackets on, lovely temperature. It's great to have cool weather every now and then, gives us a bit of a break from the heat. Soraya has asked us an interesting question about sunscreen. Soraya would like to know, do all of us wear sunscreen while we're out on game drive? Yes, we do. My tan has got even darker the last little while I've been here, but we all do put sunscreen on. We have to, because the sun can get very harsh out here, especially the times that we are out in the afternoons. It's very, very hot, so we do need to wear sunscreen. So we're going to carry on searching through these. Oh, there's a lovely little bird I'd like to show you. Let's see if Brian can get it. Did you see it there, Brian? Oh, there we go. A Burchell's cuckoo. So this is a cuckoo, not a cuckoo. A C-O-U-C-A-L, the cuckoo. The Burchell's cuckoo. Now this bird, interestingly enough, is often referred to as the rainbird, and it's got a wonderful call, and the belief is there you can see white underneath and this rufous brown back and wings. So a lot of locals believe that if you hear the Burchell's cuckoo calling, it's probably going to rain. It's just flown off there now, Brian. And the Burchell's cuckoo, if you hear it calling, chances are it's going to rain that day, and it's got this beautiful call, something like that. Again, my bird calls are terrible, but I'm trying my best. And so nice to see that Birchall's cuckoo. Gee, Brian's been amazing on camera this morning with all the birds. Thanks so much, Brian. We're going to continue searching along this drainage line and see if we've got any other activity around here, but we've been very fortunate with birds. Taylor seems to have more dead buffalo.
So we're back at the Carcass, in which we saw the lions feeding on about 3 evenings ago now. Remember, we were here yesterday morning and we saw all the vultures sitting on top of this young buffalo that was taken down. Now there's just one vulture here. There were a couple of others, but we know what they're like. As soon as we arrived, they seemed to fly away, but hopefully they'll come back again. They weren't feeding. They were just sort of standing around it. You can see that the buffalo there looks a little bit on the skinnier side, I think from all the flesh that they've eaten on the inside. And I'm sure there's still plenty of meat here. I can see legs that are still whole and have got lots of flesh on, but no signs of hyenas, not even a footprint coming down this road of a hyena, which is quite interesting. So like I said, there must be so much food around at the moment that it's not necessary for something like a hyena to scavenge too far and wide. Because most nights when we come out, and we haven't actually been seeing a lot of the hyena tracks, well, I haven't. And I think that's exactly why. Normally every day you come out and the road is littered with hyena footprints. But it's only going to be a matter of time before they come back again, and I look forward to their arrival. But Mr. Whiteback Vulture over here, standing guard, we can see very full, not hungry at all. I suppose they just roosted in the area last night, and at first light they came back down and started feeding again, and this process will continue until there's absolutely nothing left. And of course the maggots are also doing their bit too, feeding away, but of course nothing quite devours a carcass like a flock of vultures. They can be quite ravenous, and we were really lucky to experience that yesterday. Sorry. There was a dung beetle that was flying. Hang on. Oh, and then I almost just swallowed the buffalo. Excuse me, I'm just having a little moment here. I'm just going to drive away from the carcass. So sorry. It's... That was a terrible smell. You can see my eyes are watering, and that should be a good indication as to how horrific that smell was. Now, I can't go back. I can't do it. Otherwise, it's just too terrible. But why I was initially laughing, Eggsy's also crying, now he's laughing at me, was it was a big dung beetle, one of those large copper dung beetles that was flying along, and it flew straight into the apple leaf tree and then fell down on the ground. And I happened to watch the entire thing happen. It was very, very funny. So I apologize, but we're going to move away from that carcass now, otherwise I'm definitely going to be ill. That was very pungent. All of a sudden, the wind sort of swirled and changed direction as I was talking, and we all know how much I love to talk. And that smell went straight into my nasal cavity and straight down my throat. So I got a double whammy of rotting buffalo. Not pleasant at all. That was not nice. I'm just taking a moment just to gather myself, okay? Wipe the tears away. Oh, no. Now, that's always really funny, is that you go into sightings. This is one of the things I used to hate when guiding guests, is because I couldn't control myself. If I start to gag because I feel like I'm going to get sick, well then that's the end of me. And I will continue. I won't be able to talk to anybody. That's why I decided to very quickly move away from there before I started the downward spiral. But here are some of the other vultures. No, don't fly. No, typical. There they go. You can see them disappearing now. And I presume they were at some point feeding on their carcass this morning. There's still quite a few of them around in the area. Whew, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better now. Thank you and sorry for that. I think Eggsy was hoping he was going to see some action this morning coming from me, but no, Eggsy, not today. I will not. I'm wondering... Oh, hang on, actually I wanted to show you somebody who's on my bonnet. Let me quickly get whoever we've got here. I'm going to quickly just... Maybe I can just stand. I could probably just do this. I'm sorry, you're going to hear lots of clanging and cluttering as I reach across. Look who I've got here. No, don't fly. Come back. Come back. I'm going to catch it. It's a moth, but it's a really pretty one. It's not Gregory from yesterday. Come here. It's in the box. No, come out of the box. It's gone down into the box of great things that holds... okay, I'll have to fish it out. We'll get it a little bit later. But it was a beautiful moth, a red moth. A little bit similar looking to Gregory from yesterday morning. I think we had... Was it yesterday? No, it was the morning before. My goodness. Oh, something else we can look for today is perhaps the terrapins. I don't think we've seen any terrapins just yet, and there's been quite a few of them in all the puddles of water that are around. So if we find a nice puddle, I'll have a look and see if we can't perhaps show you a little terrapin. But we are definitely also going to head down to the southern boundary now and just do a little drive and have a check around. We know these leopards with these young cubs. Sorry, I'm just checking. I keep thinking I've seen something, but it isn't. It's just a log. Like I said, those cubs like to move during the day with their mothers. But let's very quickly go across to Byron, who's got a bird.
Hang on. Hello everyone, we've got a scimitar bull. There it sits, there we go. Look at that, a scimitar bull. This is great. Wow, we've had a lot of luck with birds this morning. Our birding's been fantastic. I wonder if you can hear it calling there. That doo, 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 doo. Look at that long, sharp, curved beak. And that allows it... Let's just see where it goes. It's still flying around there. So, let me it's just flown off now. I'll show you in the book here. It's part of the hoopoo family. And there's the common scimitar bull over there. And that long, curved beak allows it to occasionally feed on nectar from flowers, but also it feeds on insects, and that is how you spell scimitar bull, the common scimitar bull. And one of the birds that looks similar to it is this green wood hoopoo, that one over there with that long red beak, but this is a bit larger and that beak is much thicker. This is a very thin beak, and that is the African hoopoo just over there, and we can hear one calling just off to our left, but I can't seem to see it at the moment. I think it's in a tree, but lovely to see that common scimitar bull. That's nice. That is really good. So I just heard something back here. I just want to have a look. There's some birds making a noise in the trees. Just scan here quickly, give me a second. There's some starlings, and I see a grey go-away bird. And I wonder if they're just not unhappy with the grey go-away bird. Possibly. It's always good just to... If you do hear birds like this making a noise, I can hear some oxpeckers in there too. Maybe the oxpeckers around. Possibly a nest, an oxpecker nest in there. And the reason why I look very carefully in the tree, when you hear birds, often birds alarm calling like that, they could alert you to any any one of many different predators, a snake, another bird of prey, perhaps an owl or something sitting in there. Birds will also alarm call at predators walking around, maybe a leopard walking through the thicket. So it's always good just to have a look and see what they are alarm calling at or what's disturbed them. I think in this case, I think it's a bunch of oxpeckers in the nest and a few starlings just around them, that's all. And Aaron from New Zealand has asked us a question about the osprey and when they return. Now, Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, the osprey don't migrate. I think they're here throughout the year. Let me double check for you quickly, but your question has thrown me now a little bit. We don't have osprey in this area. So osprey prefer estuaries and wetlands. We don't often see them around these areas. They're along the coastlines mainly. But I have seen an osprey once in Londolozi, so just south of here. I saw an osprey once last year actually, which was very interesting, and I don't think it had been seen there before. So, but generally speaking, they do not occur in this area. Let me just see. So I'm just trying to page and drive and scan at the same time. Let me just stop here for a second. Let's just have a look, Aaron, because that is an interesting question. But the osprey, as I said, as far as I know, they do not migrate. They are here throughout the year. Almost there. Hold on. Aaron, I apologize, I am wrong. So they do migrate and they arrive back in August, September, around August, September. So that's very interesting. I don't know, because I think it's one of the reasons is we don't get many osprey around us. I haven't seen many. I've only seen osprey twice in my life. One down in the coast in the southern part of South Africa, and the one at Londolozi last year. But so they do migrate, which I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. So thanks for that question, Aaron. And it says that they usually arrive around August to September. So they're probably around, and they have arrived back, but again, not in this area. They prefer wetlands and estuaries. So we don't really see them around here. But that is, I'm just trying to see what else they say. Yeah, mostly exactly lagoons, estuaries, and some inland lakes. So not in this area. It's a bit too dry for them. I think the one that I saw at Londolozi was only there because it was along a permanent river. So there's a lot of water around, and that's why that osprey was there. And you see, it's great to have questions like that. You learn something new all the time, especially even with us that work out in the bush and we go to different areas, and I go to many different areas, and even for myself, I've only seen osprey once or twice and don't know very much about them unless you read up on all these birds. Another African cuckoo flying over us, just past us. Unless you read up on these birds, I think it just sat up at the top of the tree there. Oh, there it goes again. See how lucky we were to see them earlier. So unless you're reading up on these birds, especially various migrants, because some migrants also don't always migrate. They may be found here throughout the year, and possibly migrate different, or they might skip a year and stay in an area depending on the rainfall, the food. So it all depends. Some birds will migrate every year, and others that are said to be migratory species might stay. So James has asked a question about the cuckoos that we saw, or cuckoos in general, and James would like to know, are there any cuckoo species in the area that lay their own eggs, or lay their eggs and then in a nest, their own nest, and raise the chicks themselves and are not brood parasites? So James, no, all the cuckoos are brood parasites. They all lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and other birds raise their chicks. And I always find that fascinating, is the chicks of the cuckoos never come into contact with the adults, but yet they know that they need to migrate every year, and they migrate north out of southern Africa for the winter and return again for the summer. So it is incredible how these animals just know, these birds just know that it's just instinct that they have to migrate. I read something interesting the other day, again about instinct, and it's written in their DNA, it's genetic, how some animals and birds know what their role is in nature. So there was a species of weaver. They did this experiment a few years ago. They took this weaver, and this weaver would only use a certain grass that it would then build its nest with. So what they did was they took some weavers, they put them in captivity, they took away all the grass materials, so these birds were unable to build their own nests. They allowed them to lay eggs. They still bred and they still lay eggs, but they didn't have the nesting material to build those nests. And they kept them in there for 3 or 4 generations. So these birds never once had plant material to build nests. And about 4 generations later, they took those birds out, those chicks eventually, they put them out into a natural environment with a correct nesting material that they would find in their normal habitat, and those birds actually built their own nest just like they are meant to. So for 4 generations of not building a nest, of not knowing or not even having the plant material around, they still knew that that was the grass that they needed, and that is how the nest has to be built. Isn't that amazing? It's fascinating. Really is fascinating. So I think it's the same with the migrations. The birds just know it's time to leave, and somehow they know, instinct tells them where they need to go. Right, and on that note, with all the birds and instinct, I wonder if Taylor's got an instinct of where we can find some leopard.
No birds and no leopards, I'm afraid, just yet, and I believe that there have been quite a few requests to head to the dam cam and have a look and see what Gowrie Dam is looking like. Well, we're going to go there now, but before we do, I have got a bird. I lied. We've got a red-billed hornbill hopping away just down below us. You shall see it in just a moment. There we go. You can see it hopping around now and gone out of view, perhaps looking for something to eat. Oh, it looks like it's doing quite well. What have you got there? Perhaps some termites? Probing around there. No, nothing. And it's coming back out again. Now remember, yesterday morning we had such great fun watching those red-billed hornbills build their nest. Wasn't that amazing to see? And don't worry, I haven't forgotten where it is. Oh, you see that one try to go for an insect that flew over its head. But perhaps, oh, there we go, look at that. Off it goes. Did you see that hornbill, how it had a big beetle of some sort in its mouth? Now, Jason, you're wondering if these hornbills are related to the southern ground hornbill. They are indeed. They're sort of distant cousins of each other. We see quite a few different species of hornbill. We see, of course, the red-billed hornbill, which we've seen this morning, and right now we see the southern ground hornbills, which Byron had this morning. We see the yellow-billed hornbills, occasionally the crowned, and sometimes the trumpeter too. And not to forget, number 6, the African grey hornbill, which is one of my favorites. Now, we're going to carry on. We're going to head around towards the dam and see if Henry the hippopotamus is perhaps there. Maybe even catch those lions coming down for a drink one last time. But we've got a little bit of a way to go, not too far. A few little bumps and corners to go around before we eventually get there. We'll just take it easy through here. I don't want to lose. Ooh, those brakes are so squeaky. Okay, up and around the corner we go. Just checking it's a nice area for birds, perhaps looking for the first woodlands kingfisher. Now, Gamer wants to know if we've ever wanted to sort of reach out and touch any of the animals or even feed them. Now, Gamer, of course, as we're sitting here in these vehicles, it's such a human thing to want to reach out and just touch the lion on the head or an elephant as it walks past, because they come so close to the vehicle. And obviously, we sit here and we have to say to ourselves, no, you can't do that. Firstly, it's probably not going to end very well. Especially because they're wild and they're not used to being touched or anything along those lines. But no, we don't even feed them, even though the conditions can get quite bad. They are used to these cycles of droughts, and they don't happen all the time. They just happen every couple of years or so, and they're able to push through. Like we always say, the strongest will survive. But yes, there's always that urge, and it's one of the things that I found when you are guiding guests around, is that it's sometimes so hard to believe when you're seeing an elephant for the first time or a lion, and you're just engrossed in that entire moment. Your adrenaline's pumping, you're nervous, but you're also so excited at the same time. And that's when you've got to sort of watch carefully that somebody doesn't just reach out and touch an animal, and because that, I don't think, like I said, it will definitely not end well. So that's when you've got to be most careful, is when there's just so much going on, and you just have to keep reminding yourself not to do things like that. But otherwise, if you sit in the vehicle, you can chat normally, you can sneeze, you can do all those sorts of things. As long as you sit down and keep your hands in the vehicle, you can get an up close and personal experience with amazing wild animals without really interfering in their lives too much. And I think for me, that is one of my favorite things about being out here and being able to get so close to the animals. But we're not far now, we're almost at the pan, so you just have to bear with my driving for a little bit longer, and then we'll be able to have a scan and see what is out and about. But you know something that I've been seeing a lot of? I'm so sorry, these lovely brakes. Is look at all this feces on the ground here. Can you get this, Eggsy? Is it a bit too close? Oh no, I think we can see it. There we go. You can see it just on the edge of the vehicle. All that dung. Now, I'm not going to touch it because it's quite stinky dung. That is from a hippopotamus, and we often see it all spread out like that, and over the trees and leaves you may even see some of the feces on that small green plant on the top. You can actually see it sort of stuck onto it. Now, this is normally from a male. The hippos don't just mark their territories inside the water, they also have territories when they come out the water, and this is one of the ways that they'll do so. They wag their tails as they start to defecate, and of course then it acts as a fan and it sprays it all over here. And normally the female hippos, they don't do this. They normally just defecate, and you'll see their balls of dung still intact, almost like miniature elephant dung. But let's carry on. We can't be too far if we've got hippo dung close by. Let's go around, and it looks fairly fresh. It didn't look too old, maybe from last night, maybe even yesterday morning, quite early, but from some time yesterday. Oh, I can see the antennas of the big towers in the distance from the lodges, so that means we're definitely not far. Let's go around here. Oh, before we do, we've got to say hello. Can you see Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg? Oh, it just looks like one of them. For now, I just want to very quickly show you and say hello to one of the Wahlberg's eagles who's sitting on the right-hand side in that dead tree. There it is. Hello. I think this is the same one that we saw jumping around on the log yesterday. It seems to be quite pale, and these pale morphed Wahlberg's eagles are very special to see. Are you having a sleep? No? Oh, hello. No, just grooming yourself. For a moment I thought it was fast asleep, but look at those beautiful big talons that it has. Quite nice. You can see their feet quite nicely. Very relaxed. Okay, but let's say a goodbye to the Wahlbergs, and let's very quickly, we're only about 150 meters away or so from this dam, and we're chasing the clock. have one last look and see what's around. I'll go a little bit quicker, and I'll try not to get too distracted. You know, I'm very good at getting distracted. Yeah, almost here. Whee! There was a little bump, sorry, from the erosion. Quite steep though. Gave us a little bit of drop as we went off. Eggsy, for your birthday I'll get you Velcro pants. How does that sound? He's just laughing. Actually, he says it sounds perfect, so we'll have to get somebody to make up some Velcro pants then. Okay, we're going to go down. I'm going to go down. No, let's not go into the dam wall. Let's have a little look at the dam cam. We are trying to work on fixing the dam cam and get it up and running as soon as possible. So don't worry, we're trying our absolute best to get it all going. You're making interesting noises today, Jiggy. Oh, we're here. I can't see anything. Let's get right in front of the watering holes though. And let's have a look here. Well, it seems as though you're not missing out on too much this morning, as there is not even a insect that I can see just yet. A few little bubbles, perhaps from a terrapin or something along those lines. But unfortunately, of course it is. You see the little head of the terrapin. Hello, little guy. Doesn't look like a particularly big one, but they seem to be quite happy. There's a couple of them poking their heads out. Even right here in front of this log, you can see all of their heads. They're funny looking things when they do that. Now, terrapin is probably, if you're from the States, what you would call a turtle. So it's, for us though, a turtle is the reptiles, the big reptiles, of course, that look like tortoises that you see swimming in the ocean. And the terrapins are something in between a tortoise, which we see on land, which Byron had lots of yesterday morning. Look at that one looking at us. And they've got claws and they've got webbed toes, so not quite a flipper like an actual turtle. And you can see how quickly the water is also drying up behind us in the pan, just down below where the cameras are. I think even from yesterday, it's drying up quite quickly. And here's a good example of, you can start to see the green grass coming through as well on the edges of the watering holes. Can you see that? They're looking nice and green. They started to turn a lighter shade of brown and yellow, but luckily they've had some life pumped into them again. And now typically around the watering holes it gets green quite quickly. So if you want to take a couple of screenshots, you're welcome to. Perhaps on that patch of grass that you're looking at right now, Eggsy, that might be a good patch. And I think over the next few days we're going to see that greening up quite nicely. Let's even have a look. Can we have a look on this beautiful open area? I want to show you the area just over here. Look at that. Even from yesterday, it looks a lot greener. You can see those clouds also building up in the distance. Now I think this is also going to be another good spot to monitor. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. But we hope that you have enjoyed the show today, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So from myself and Eggsy, we will hopefully see you this afternoon for the sunset safari. But let's go back across to Byron, who I'm sure would also like to say goodbye to you.
Thank you very much, Taylor and Eggsy. And what a way to finish off the show with this herd of elephant. We've just come across them. What a great morning. We've had some wonderful sightings of birds this morning. And now to finish with the herd of elephants, some youngsters feeding there too. Thank you very much to everyone again for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And don't forget to join us for this afternoon's drive while sunset safari. It'd be great to have you with us again and answer some of your questions. Thank you for all the questions and comments. Oh, look at that. Wonderful to see a herd feeding. They really seem to be enjoying those trees. Probably also looking for the bark, like we saw that male elephant earlier this morning. And so glad you also got to see the Nkuhuma pride this morning, the lions and the buffalo. They've been very successful, so it's great that they are still around, still doing so well. There's that lovely little one in the background. Thank you very much to Brian and the thumb this morning. Amazing camera work. Thanks, Brian, for all the birds that we saw. Thank you to Kirsten and Lou in the FC. Always nice having the voices in my head and with them sending through all the questions. Again, don't forget to join us on Safari Live this afternoon. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.